Hi, everyone. Welcome to Resistance Live. It's the 23rd of January, 2024, and I still have COVID. I'm feeling a lot better today, however, thanks to the miracle of Paxlovid. This is only the second time I've had it, and I have to say that, as usual, it is just an absolutely miraculous treatment. Yesterday, I was flat on my back the whole day, couldn't move, and today I feel like 75%. So, thanks for giving me the day off yesterday, everybody. Appreciate you understanding, but I'm here today and feeling like more or less okay. We have to talk about this whole birthright citizenship situation because just this morning there was a new press conference held by a number of House Republicans, and this is shaping up to be one of the first big points of challenge of the new Trump administration. But there's so much going on, and I didn't want to leave you guys alone for another day, so here we are. For our visually challenged viewers today, I'm wearing a, camel colored sweatshirt because I'm still not 100%, couldn't be bothered to put on my work clothes. And my hair is pulled back, everything, my thin gold hoops in. I am a pink skinned, green eyed, dirty blonde haired woman, and I am in front of my bookshelf and cart in my office. And I'm coming to you, as always, from occupied Muncie, Lenape, and Mohican land. Okay, so this morning, a group of House Republicans held a press conference in which they announced that they are introducing legislation to overturn birthright citizenship in the Constitution in most cases. I will tell you that, as I have said many, many times before, legislation cannot overturn the Constitution. So they're trying something that is per se unconstitutional. However, they're playing a long game. And this is the thing that makes me very nervous about this. So you all know by now that Trump wrote an executive order that also seeks to ban birthright citizenship in most cases. This is legislation that follows along that path. And clearly what they are doing here is they are setting up a court challenge that will eventually land in front of the Supreme Court. And the thing that really worries me about this is with this Supreme Court, if they're given room to interpret birthright citizenship, they may very well, notwithstanding the fact they all claim to be constitutional originalists, come to the conclusion that, for instance, if one of your parents is undocumented when you're born in the United States, you don't have American citizenship by right. And so this is an extremely dangerous situation, especially for people who, let's just say hypothetically, got married here without being documented, had a baby, or didn't get married, had a baby here undocumented. That means that their child would no longer be a U.S. citizen. And this is not the way that citizenship has ever worked in the United States, right? At least since the 14th Amendment was entered. So one of the things that I just want people to be very conscious of right here is that there is I think you guys already know this, but there is an extremely rapid attempt right now to roll back some of the things that were considered fundamentally sacrosanct inside the U.S. Constitution. And I'm going to tell you what to do, okay? This is one of those moments where we really have to flood the hill with calls. I watched this press conference this morning as it happened live, and these people are pulling no punches. Andy Biggs, of course, is one of the sponsors of this legislation, which, as I said on Blue Sky, should tell you all you need to know about what it's about. But they are essentially all in on the idea that you don't have a right to U.S. citizenship if you're born here. And, the longer view on this, in addition to the fact that they're going to end up trying to put this in front of SCOTUS, is the fact that it's going to essentially give U.S. officials, if it flies, the right to determine who should be a U.S. citizen and who should not. Now, I'm just going to tell you something. When you start to make random decisions about who is actually a U.S. citizen and who isn't for people who are born here, you're essentially making a decision about who belongs and who doesn't. And that kind of work is the work of fascism. It's the work that, led to things like concentration camps in other regimes. And, fundamentally, it's the work that the far right has been advocating for worldwide. So this is a moment where you need to call your representatives and your senators and tell them to make sure that this bill does not pass. Because if it passes, it will then be challenged in court, and that will end up in front of the Supreme Court. We have to actually stop this one in its tracks. It's profoundly critical that it doesn't make it out of the Hill and onto Donald Trump's desk. Because truly, it is the work of fascism. And Donald Trump's EO can't do it on its own either, all right? I have to say that we are going to have to be very loud about some of this proposed legislation going forward. And it is going to require us to do it even if our senators and our representatives are dark red, okay? Even if our senators and representatives are hard blue, because everybody needs to hear from us about what we think here. And you need to tie up the resources of those offices so that your voice is heard. So make those phone calls, make them today. Please make them as soon as you possibly can. And while you're there, make your voice heard about Pete Hegseth and other nominees, because there was a new affidavit introduced in the Senate about Pete Hegseth's second wife being so afraid of him that she had to create a safety plan in the event that he tried to hurt her again. So you can go and, make phone calls about multiple issues, but please make phone calls today asking your senators and your rep to not vote in favor of the Birthright Citizenship Act. It is a profoundly dangerous piece of legislation to the future of this country and democracy and freedom. Okay. I'm going to say one other thing here. We have a whole flurry of policies that have come out of the Trump administration in the last couple of days related to issues like DEI and health and science. And one of the things that is very clear here is that essentially they have managed to destabilize the U.S. government in the space of 4 days. Now, I've been warning you all since the election that this was going to kind of be a shock and awe moment. And there are big questions about how much of this is going to stick. But I do want to mention that they have sent messages now to every single federal agency telling them to eliminate all DEI programs, telling them that all government contracts that have a basis in DEI are now eliminated. That would include, by the way, all government contracts with women and minority-owned businesses, and that employees should report to a hotline if they know that contract language has been changed to make the DEI programs more coded so that they can slide through, and that if they don't report it within the next 10 days, there will be sanctions against individual employees. This is like McCarthyism redux, in addition to the fact that it is absolutely crippling to the federal government. Now, for those of you who don't understand how DEI and government contracts work, first things first, this runs up against all sorts of other provisions in the 14th Amendment, like the issue of equal protection. And we have some really serious questions at this moment about what's going to happen going forward in terms of court challenges, in terms of employment status, in terms of hiring and government contracts, given that all of these policies look like they absolutely violate principles of equal protection, okay? But in addition to that, something people may not realize is that, like, our federal government functions on government contracts. And if you eliminate every women and minority-owned business from government contracts inside the United States government, the government will not work. And, I have to say they've done this for NASA. They've done it for Commerce. They've done it for the FDA. They've done it across every single agency imaginable. And it again is something that I do believe is going to be challenged in court one way or another. But the question is, like, what's going to happen there? So we'll see. I'm getting a warning on my camera that I'm low on battery levels, you guys. So if I glitch out, I'm sorry. I didn't check them beforehand. COVID. Okay. Let's just talk for a second. One more thing about birthright citizenship that I neglected to mention that I should mention. 22 states have now initiated legislation against the Trump administration related to birthright citizenship. This is a challenge by these attorneys general and these states to get a declaratory judgment that the policies are in violation of the Constitution. This is, again, something that, and this is just for injunctive relief, all right? This is, again, something where They are seeking to get a judge to rule outright that the policies are in violation of the Constitution. We'll see what happens with that. But I told you all in the last couple of months that the Democratic Governors Association was going to be one really key point of rebellion against what Trump was going to try to do. And this is the first example of that. 22 Democratic-led states are filing suit on this. And that's exactly what we want. We need to support them. It's really critical. Okay. AOC was on the floor yesterday of the House talking about private detention camps and the profit that Congress people are going to make as a result of investing in those stocks. I just want everyone to be very clear on this. AOC was warning that private detention camps, AKA concentration camps, are coming to every town in America. And I don't actually think she's wrong. I mean, we have private prisons in pretty much every town in America right now. So why should this be any different? One of the things I want people to be aware of is there are maps circulating right now that identify already existing ICE locations nationwide. This is going to be a point where we actually are probably going to need some form of local protest if and when it happens. Some of these camps are already being built in places like Texas, but we're also going to need to know where the private detention facilities are going up so that protests can be held. And those of you who were with me back in 2019, when we did a lot of protesting related to family separation, know that these private detention camps previously were places where big protests happened, including Kamala Harris showing up at one of them. So again, we're going to have to be very mindful of how and when local targeted protests can be used here as these camps continue to be built. It's critically important. So go watch AOC on the floor if you haven't seen it. It's very important to be aware that that's happening. Okay. I need to clarify one thing, that there's a bit of disinformation that's circulating around out there that says that Meta forced everyone to follow Trump and Vance. This is false. The reason why I'm raising this is because some of this disinformation even filtered through this morning on the Patreon feed, where you can, by the way, ask me questions every morning for 3 hours before the broadcast, and I will answer them in writing or on the air. That's patreon.com/resistancelive, and subscriptions start as little as $5 a month. That's super cheap. It's less than 20 cents a broadcast. This got through on the Patreon feed this morning because there were some people who were like, did you see that Meta made us all automatically follow? No. If you happen to be following President Biden or Vice President Harris at 12:01 on Monday, those accounts automatically flipped over to Trump and Vance. So although Meta is doing all sorts of really evil things right now, like censoring abortion content on Instagram, that's a fact. They did not force everyone to follow Trump and Vance. And this would be a good moment where if you are following President Biden or Kamala Harris, you just go unfollow those accounts. All right. Very critical right now to know that this is not something that was intentionally done. All right. Last thing that I want to mention today, just from the standpoint of like news, is this. Okay. Trump made this statement the other day about how Elon knows more about voting machines than anybody. All this stuff about how he won in Pennsylvania. And people have taken this as a moment to say, once again, we've raised the issue. The election is rigged. Okay, so I just want to mention something to everyone. All right. Pennsylvania currently has Governor Josh Shapiro as its governor. It has a very solid leadership in Pennsylvania right now. It's also got like real crackerjack DAs, people like Larry Krasner, who is the district attorney for Philadelphia. If there was a serious issue with voting in Pennsylvania, those people would be taking it up. And I have to say again that, if something happened here, we're going to know it eventually. But now is not the moment. And I'm just going to say one other thing here. Like, we all know Trump lies through his teeth. You can't take anything that he says at face value. This is not the moment to be running around the internet spinning conspiracy theories about the fact that he confessed that Elon had interfered in the election. All right. Jasmine Crockett said somebody should investigate this. That's probably true. But I'm going to tell you all that until an investigation comes to pass and we have actual evidence of it, we need to be focused right now on spending time organizing where we live for safety and survival and resistance. There goes my signal. Hang on. Hang on 1 second here, you guys. I'm going to see if I can, yes, I can get you on my Zoom camera. All right, so you have a slightly different view for the rest of this. Sorry, my main camera crapped out. All right, so last thing I just want to say here to all of you, like, this is a really important moment to make sure that you are using your voices on the Hill. And again, I got to remind you guys, you've got to get really active right now. You've got to be back in to calling your senators and your reps about issues that you really care about. You've got to make sure that you are using your voice locally. You've got to get deeply invested in organizing where you live. And, you know, I'm going to mention one other thing to you. If you haven't yet taken our program, the Dual Power Accelerator, registration is only open for 10 more days. Class starts on February 5th for our second cohort. We've already put a bunch of people, 215 people through the first cohort, all of whom are sticking around for the second one. So if you want to learn how to organize where you live, this is your chance. Please get in on this program. I'll also drop a link up here when I'm done. I want you guys to understand something, though. The biggest conversations that are happening right now about how we respond to this are based in mutual aid and dual power. So many people who are like very prominent activists are discussing relentlessly the fact that all of our old strategies have not worked. And so I need you guys to like really get invested in local organizing. I know I've been talking about this for a very long time, including through the entire 2024 election cycle, but this is the moment where if you have not yet figured out how to organize where you live, you need to do it because people's lives are on the line. And we're going to need to understand how we're going to move through this moment to keep as many people safe as possible. All right. Shorter broadcast day, you guys. I'm going to go keep recovering from COVID. I'm really excited, fundamentally, actually, to see as many of you as possible in that course in the second cohort. And also, please make your phone calls today. All right, that's it. This is about as much brain capacity as I could handle with COVID, actually. Thank you guys for being here today. I will catch you all here live tomorrow. I promise to have the battery on my camera recharged. And I will see you all then. All right, take care, everybody. Excuse me. Bye.